We are now looking at November 2024, Section B. This is our Economics Paper 1. It was written by last year's candidate. Section B comprises of 3 questions, and the candidates need to answer any 2. So when you come across Section B in your trial or your main exam, it is very important for you to understand that you need to answer only 2 questions of the 3 questions. You can choose any question that you feel comfortable in. Please select that question. So in this video, our main focus will be only on question number 2, and question number 2 covers macroeconomics. Every question in section B, it's made up of 40 marks, and the candidate is expected to spend 30 minutes of their time. Now let's just look at the question that we have and answer them together. 2.1, answer the following questions. Name any 2 methods used to calculate gross domestic product. There are 2 widely known methods to calculate GDP or gross domestic product. It is the income approach as well as the expenditure approach. So those are widely used or widely known methods when it comes to calculating GDP. However, the production approach is also an acceptable approach to calculate the country's GDP. So the answer to this question will be either income approach, expenditure approach, or it will be production approach. 2.1.2, how can competition stimulate aggregate supply in the economy? Does the competition stimulate aggregate supply? Yes, it does. Now the question is, how does competition stimulate aggregate supply in the economy? Now, this is a question where you need to provide answers to. So this is how competition stimulates aggregate supply. Competition may improve production efficiency, resulting in more goods and services being produced in the economy. So how is that possible? You need to understand the competition arises because there are many producers that are available to produce certain products or deliver certain services. For that reason, if there are many people competing to the customer, they are at the position where they can improve production efficiency. So the competition helps to improve production efficiency, which results in goods and services being produced in the economy. Number 2, business may become more innovative, use new production techniques with higher productivity and increase aggregate supply. So what does it mean? If there's a high competition, there are many suppliers that are fighting to win the buyers. So what happened now, because there are many people that are selling the similar products, in order for them to stay in the business or remain competitive, they will be more innovative. They will come up with better techniques of providing the service or product. So that it is the way the business become more innovative, use new production techniques with higher productivity and increase aggregate supply. So how does the aggregate supply increase? The aggregate supply increase because of the basis of the fact that now we are at the position where people become more innovative, and by them being more innovative, it therefore means they are in the position where they can produce more products, and that products will be available to the consumers. And the third one, more business may be established, which help to increase total output in the economy. So the competition results to more companies being available. And when more companies are available, more output will be produced. Now let us summarize 2.1.2. What happened? How can competition stimulate aggregate supply? Number one, we have said that there will be improved production because now everyone is competing to one customer. We said innovation. Innovation in terms of producing the products or delivering the service will increase, right? And then we are saying also because there'll be more business, as there are more business that are available in the economy, and therefore means there'll be more output that will be produced. Now we are done with 2.1. Let us look at 2.2. 2.2 says study the extract below and answer the question that follows. It is very important, candidate, to understand that there is no way that you are going to be able to answer this question without reading the extract below. You first need to read the extract and then answer the question. So where do these extracts normally comes from? This extracts normally comes from either the news or they will be coming from Wikipedia. So in this case, it was adapted from the Wikipedia. Now let us read what is in this article. Public sector failure. In South Africa, many public entities suffer from management failure. Organizations are inefficient in delivering service because they lack a skilled workforce to complete tasks successfully. This results in service being of poor quality, such as hospitals running out of medicines. These are cases where funds are left unspent even when there is a desperate need from communities. This means that the money is returned to the National Treasury at the end of fiscal year. So if you look at this article, it talks about the public sector failure. And they've highlighted the matters of the issues of the workforce, where the workforce that the public sector have is not skilled or suitable enough to deliver the service that is required. And the article goes further and say the issue can go to a point that even though there is money that is available that has been received from National Treasury, that money cannot be used at the end, is not used at the end of the year and it needs to go back. It's not used because it wasn't needed, but it's not used because of inefficiency that is in the public sector entities. Now let us look at the question that follows. 2.2.1, identify one reason for public sector failure in the above extract. So whatever that you are identifying, it has to come from the extract below. So we have two. The first one, it's management failure. Like you can see, they even stated failure after it, which make it easy for you to identify. The second one, it is the issue of lack of skilled workforce. So you had to only provide one. You should either in the exam choose management failure or lack of skilled workforce. In this case, I'm giving you both management failure and lack of skilled workforce. And the reason I'm doing that, it is based on the fact that we are preparing you for the exam. So the question was one reason, identify one reason for the public sector failure from the extract above. 2.2.2, name the level of the government that is responsible for providing services such as refuse removal. So, in your hometown, if you are staying in urban area, who is responsible for providing service such as refuse removal? I believe that you would have seen the trucks coming to collect the dustbin from your hometown, right? So who is responsible for doing that? So the people that are responsible are the public sector that is responsible for doing that. It is local government, municipalities, or local authorities. Now, let us make an example with eThekwini or Emlazi. Emlazi, you would have seen people from eThekwini municipality collecting the refuse removal. And therefore, for places like Emlazi, eThekwini municipality is expected to provide the services of refuse removal. Now let us look at 2.2.3. Briefly describe the term accountability. If someone says to you, you need to be accountable for failing this exam, what does that mean? What is the word accountability mean to you? So, and you need to briefly describe in the exam, and you are expected that you are not going to be saying something so long because you are only going to get 2 marks for it. The accountability, it's the duty of an individual or organization to explain their decision, actions, expenditure, and accept responsibility for their behavior. So, what does that mean? It means that you have sat down and you realize that you've done something wrong. And for that thing that you've done wrong, you're going to admit how the thing was done wrong and how you're going to address it. It's not only for individual, but it's also for the organization where they sit down and explain their action. It could be good action or bad action. So you take accountability of the actions, your behavior, your spending, right? So that's what the accountability means. 2.2.4, explain the effect of the public sector failure on the allocation of resources. What are the effects of the public sector failure when it comes to allocation of resources? Resources will not be optimal allocated, which lead to some valuable resources being wasted. Allocation of funds to failed projects and inefficient government department results in wasteful expenditure and the use of taxpayers' money. So, what does that mean? What does it mean that the public sector failure resulted from the incorrect allocation of resources? I'll make an example. So, if more money is allocated to the department that doesn't need money, or that is not going to use money, or that will use money but in an incorrect way, that will result to the failure in the allocated resources. So, and we'll call it public sector failure because that money is coming from the taxpayers' money. And then what else that will happen? The projects might fail. It might happen the money is given to people that cannot deliver the service. And by them not being able to deliver the services, mean the money that was provided to that company to maybe create a bridge, it became wasteful. So that money was wasted. 2.2.5, why is it necessary for the government to impose taxes on demerit goods? So why is it necessary for government to impose taxes on demerit goods? First, you need to understand what are demerit goods. In order for you to be able to answer this question successfully and efficiently, you need to understand what are demerit goods. So demerit goods are goods that are highly consumed but shouldn't be consumed that much. I'll make an example. It could be things like your alcohol consumption. It could be the cigarette consumption. Those goods are highly consumed in the public space, but then they shouldn't be consumed that much. Now, we need to then answer the question that we've been asked. to make demerits goods more expensive in order to discourage consumers from buying them. So the main reason for government to impose higher taxes on alcohol and cigarette is because they want to discourage the consumers from consuming the products. What else? To recover the external costs that are caused by demerit goods to human beings and the environment. So let us make an example for you to understand. If someone is smoking next to you, that can affect your health. And by affecting your health, it means that now there are indirect costs associated with the smoker that is smoking next to you. So do you understand that? So these indirect costs that are associated with a smoker smoking next to you, it means there'll be more cost, public service cost in the hospital because you're going to have to go to the hospital when you get sick. Right. So that is an example of external cost that comes with the consumption of cigarette by the individuals. And then the third point will be to raise revenue that can be used to finance the provision of public services. As I've already stated, if people are consuming alcohol, the issues of the road accident might increase. And when the road accident increases, what does that mean? It basically means that these people that get accident because of people that have consumed alcohol, they need to be serviced in the public hospitals. So that money will be used then to save those people. So it is very important for you to understand and interlink the question with your understanding. And then now let us look at the question that follows. So we are done with 2.2. Now we are moving to 2.3. 2.3 says, study the graph below and answer the question that follows. Again, when we're looking at 2.3, there is no way that you are going to be able to pass 2.3 without understanding the graph, because you need to understand the graph. Now, when we're looking at the graph that we have, it's a multiply effect on a two-sector economy, right? So we know the two-sector economy. Two-sector economy, it means that we're looking at the employees or the families as well as the firms. And then the families, what are they doing? They are buying food and they're providing labor to the firm. And the firm, they're providing services and they're employing the families. So now we're looking at the y-axis. It has expenditure in billions of rand. And then we're looking at the x-axis. It has income, right? Now, what you see here, there is first equilibrium. And then there is obviously second equilibrium. And then we can see here, we have y. And then there's a shift to y1. Now we have been provided the formula. For the first one, it is E equal to 20 plus 0.5 Y. And then we are looking at E1, it is 30 plus 0.5 times Y. Now let's just look at the questions that follows. Then we're going to be coming back to answer the questions that will come about understanding this graph. 2.3.1, identify the value of the marginal propensity to consume in the graph. First, you need to understand what is the marginal propensity to consume. MPC is basically that portion that is consumed instead of being saved. Right. So what is that? So from the graph, it is 0.5, 0.5. 2.3.2, name any two participants in the two-sector economy. I've already explained to you. Already, I said it's household or the consumers, business producers or the firms. So the two sector, it is the household and the business. You are required to provide only one. It is very important for you to read and understand what is required of you. In this case, it's only one that is required. 2.3.3 briefly describe the term autonomous consumption. Autonomous consumption is the level of consumer spending that is independent of the level of income. And we can make an example. The payment for the shelter. You need the shelter. Regardless of whether you have income or not, you need the shelter. The food. You need the food regardless of the income level that you have. Obviously, the food might differ. However, at the end of the day, everyone will be eating food. However, now you need to explain, you are describing. So in your description, you're going to be saying it's the level of consumer spending that is independent of the level of income. It doesn't matter whether you are earning 100,000 or you are earning 50,000, you need those level of consumption. 2.3.4, explain the relationship between marginal propensity to save and the value of the multiplier. What is the relationship between MPC and the value of the multiplier? There is an inverse relationship between the marginal propensity to save and the multiplier. The bigger the MPC, the smaller the value of the multiplier. The smaller the MPC, the bigger the value of the multiplier. So you need to explain that there is an inverse relationship. If MPC is bigger, then the multiplier will be lower and vice versa. So it is important for you, the trigger here was for you to understand that there is an inverse relationship. 2.3.5, use the information in the above graph to calculate the change in the marginal income. Show all calculation. So now it is important for you to understand how you go about this calculation. It is 4 marks, meaning to say you are going to work on getting the figure right. I'm going to teach you the easiest way to calculate what we are required, which is obviously the change in the national income. The easiest way is for you to say, what is Y1 minus Y, right? So if you're looking at Y1, you are looking here at equilibrium E1. And if you're looking at Y, we're looking at E. So meaning to say we're looking at this one when we're looking at Y. And if we're looking at Y1, we are looking at the second one. We have the formulas already. Now, how do you go about calculating or making calculation of that? You're going to be saying 30 divided by 0.5, which is your Y1, minus your Y. And your Y is going to be 30 divided by 0.5 again. So the first one will be 60 and the second one will be 40. Now 60 minus 40 will give you 20, and then you get all your marks. Just by bringing the first formula which I gave you, which is just your 30 divided by 0.5 minus 20 divided by 0.5, you get 1. Then after you got to the total for your division that you've used, which is 60, you get a mark, and then 40, you get a mark, right? And then obviously the total, then you get the mark again. So you see how easy it is to understand how to calculate or how to use different methods to calculate the change in national income. Now we are done and looking at the question 2.3.5. We are now moving to 2.4. 2.4 says discuss the exogenous or monetarist explanation of business cycle. So this is 4 times 2. We also say you need to provide 4 points, and each point you provide will earn you 2 marks. Now let's just talk about it. The monetarist or exogenous. Monetarists believe that market is inherently stable. So any fluctuation in the economic activity are caused by the external factors. The growth path in the economy is determined by the supply factors of production. The market forces and demand and supply will always bring the market back to equilibrium when imbalance is developed. Monetarists suggest that the government should not intervene in the market operation because its intervention leads to deviation from potential growth path. So what are they saying? They're saying if there's an inequilibrium in the market, the government should not intervene in the form of subsidy or in the form of reducing tax. Because if they do that, that will result to deviation from the potential growth path. Structural changes that affect production, employment, investment, government expenditure, taxes, import, export may lead to the expansion of the business cycle. So what does that mean? If there is more or less import or export, there are taxes more or less, or there's more or less of government expenditure, it will result to expansion in the business cycle. So those factors in the economy might change the business cycle or business cycles. And if you have listened before to my other videos, you'll understand what that means. Random socio-economic shocks, such as sudden increase in fuel prices, may affect business confidence and consumer confidence. So what does that mean? If there is just an increase in the fuel prices, the confidence of consumer may change because they don't know where this increase is going to take us. Are they expecting more further fuel price increase, or it will become stable in future? Natural disasters such as droughts and floods may negatively affect agriculture, forestry, and tourism, reducing the level of economic activities. Just think of what happened when there were floods, in KZN. It affected the economy because the insurers needed to pay for those damages that happened through floods. So it is important for you to understand how monetarists explain business cycle. Now we're looking at 2.5. How can the macroeconomic objective of price stability positively influence the South African economy? How can macroeconomics or macroeconomic objective of price stability positively influence the economy? Stability ensures that prices remain relatively stable, which encourage consumer spending and stimulate economic growth. If the price is stable, everyone is happy because they believe it's going to be stable for the long run and they don't have any pressure to buy more goods or less goods. Stable price promote job creation and reduce unemployment rate in the economy through more foreign direct investment. Investors or the foreign investors, they know that if they bought certain products for 10 Rand last month, next month they're going to pay 10 Rand again for the same product. they're going to continuously buy in the country because now the prices are not changing and they're able to detect or determine the profit they can make by buying in the country. Saving may encourage, which ensures availability of loanable funds for private investment. Interest rate may remain stable and encourage spending on durable goods, such as taking mortgage loans and purchase houses, or to purchase houses rather. Price stability maintain the purchasing power of money since the real income of households are better preserved. It helps to maintain demand for South African export on the global market, thereby ensuring exchange rate stability. Extreme fluctuation on the business cycles may be avoided, which promote more sustainable economic growth. Price stability helps to keep inflation expectations low, which reduce wage demands by workers and maintain industrial peace. So price stability help consumers and business to plan and make informed decisions concerning saving, spending, and investment. The credit rating of South Africa may improve, which could lead to increased investment in the country. That takes us to the end of this question, which was question number 2. So in the next video, I'm going to go together with you in the marking guidelines. So we'll check the marking guidelines again, read together, and then we'll see where there have been any gaps while we're answering if there were any gaps. Thank you so much for listening up until this far. Please follow me to go through the marking guidelines with you. Bye.